Yeah. Hi everybody, my name is Eva Polikova. I am the co-founder, co-owner of Blooming Beats Kitchen, your delicious paleo awesome restaurant. And I have Taylor Stacklin, Dr. Taylor Stacklin here with me today.
Hello.
And this is going to be one of those super interesting discussions. I've seen Taylor present, and he's like this wealth of information, of like really cool and interesting information I've never heard before about health and well-being. So it's going to be interesting. He is a doctor of chiropractic. He owns oh my god, goodness, I'm stumbling over myself. Grounded chiropractic. But anyway, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay.
But we're going to be talking about innovation and ancient wisdom. So this is exciting. Let's get started.
Hey everybody. Hope you're tuned in. Going to go through a lot. It's going to be sweet. My name is Dr. Taylor Stacklin. I moved here about 2 years ago, opened my practice April of 2017, located down in South Boulder off of Table Mesa. Let's see a little about me. I love the outdoors, love rock climbing, practicing yoga, meditation, mindfulness, gosh, what else? Soccer is a great one too. Anything outdoors, nature, hiking, camping, all good stuff beyond just chiropractic.
And I'm so excited to have you. I was telling you, I love chiropractors. I love what you guys do. And I've been learning about what this whole thing means, but it seems like you guys do a lot of innovative stuff, and you really care about what health is, and you really care about getting to the root cause of stuff, which is not something that happens in traditional medicine.
Traditionally, no, yeah. So I don't like, we're called alternative, right? It's not really an alternative.
Yeah.
It's just a different profession, right? It's two sides of the coin, right?
Interesting.
So like doctors are awesome. Like I broke my leg last January, 2 Januaries ago, 2017, and you know, adjusting the spine is not gonna fix my broken leg, right? I needed surgery. I needed those bones to be put back into proximity, and a very skilled surgeon to do that. So I'm very thankful for that, you know. And that's their place. They're awesome at that kind of stuff. But as far as actual promoting health care, you know what I mean? It's so-so.
Yeah, there's a lot of great naturopaths too that I really love.
Totally.
And I feel like you guys are such a good fit together. And some chiropractors, also naturopaths, which is really cool and exciting.
Yeah, and chiropractic, you know, it's really built around that question of like, what's keeping you alive?
Yeah.
Where does health come from?
Mm-hmm.
Why is one person sick and another person well?
Yeah.
If they have a similar upbringing, similar genetics, this, that.
Totally.
Those are the questions that kind of this profession was born out of, which is pretty sweet. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So what is health? I wanna find your take on what is wellness. What's the roots?
Yeah. So health, you know, the standard like World Health Organization, right? They define it as a state of well-being, not just the absence of disease or infirmary, right? So it's not just physical, but it's also mental, emotional, even relational, right? And so I kind of came up with this idea called like roots of wellness. And so these are kind of breaking down different portions that create this idea, this concept of wellness, right? We hear it all the time, but like it's kind of this diffuse area. And for me, the way I've kind of defined it is being thriving, right? It's not just maintaining, it's you're growing into a better version of yourself in all these different areas, and not just maintaining or having the absence of something. It is the presence of life expressing itself through your body, through your mind, through your relationships, through your life. You know, it's just that expression, right? And so the different areas of that is one, there's the physical component, so like exercise, right? We all know exercise is good for us, totally, right? This body, it's a temple, right? We need to treat it as such. So exercise, you know, don't really have like my favorite or like what someone should do or shouldn't do, but you have to do what's sustainable and something you enjoy, something that you're going to be able to make a practice for your life, right? Obviously there's different kinds you can kind of get into, but that's a whole nother subject. We don't have to delve too far into that.
Yeah. Could you speak a little louder? I know there's Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Next one is diet, right? So diet isn't just a 30-day thing or like a week-long project. it is a practice, just like working out. You know, too many people, I just posted on this morning, they don't think about fueling their body, they're just filling it, right? They're just like, what can I eat? I'm hungry, I need something. You know, grab that random snack bar or, you know, processed food, whatever. But my nutritional advice in my office is so simple. It's be chemical free, eat things from the ground, eat it before it goes bad. You know, that's pretty much what I do, right? As a very baseline start, and then we can get more specific with certain challenges, you know. But I mean, that's the idea. Like, let food be thy medicine, right? That was the saying, and you know, we've kind of deviated away from that a little bit. So that's another route.
Right.
And then there's rest, sleep, being able to rejuvenate, right? Then there's the mental aspect. So your thoughts, right? I always tell people, pretty much every day this leaves my mouth in the office is like, what the mind believes, the body achieves, right? So I hear things like, oh, you know, my dad has diabetes or my mom had cancer or whatever, I'll probably get it. It's just, no, like, stop that. Like,
stop saying it.
You're programming that into your physiology, and that's going to reflect what you're thinking about, right? Where attention goes, energy flows. Tony Robbins, right? Tons of people say all that kind of stuff. Law of attraction and all that good thing.
Right.
But let me think what else we have here. Relationships. So have you heard of the Blue Zones Project?
I have not. Tell me about it.
So that was a project done looking and studying the longest living populations of the world and some of the most healthy populations in the world. And they're dispersed throughout the world. There's one in Japan, there's one in Sicily, there's a few others sprinkled around like the Americas. But one of the most common things is they all had very, very strong familial and relationship ties in their community.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is the community in Sicily, right over in Italy. And they're eating pasta and stuff all day long, you know, and it's just like carbs. And you think, oh my God, these people probably have terrible heart disease, and they actually have extremely low rates of heart disease. And one of the main parts of their culture is that family community relationship aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the yeah, exactly. And there's been studies done looking at, you know, all these different lifestyle activities and someone's quality of life, but actually the highest or the most accurate indicator is not exactly what you're doing or what you're feeling even, but it's how you feel about how you feel. Which is the greatest indicator of overall quality of life and well-being throughout someone's life, which is kind of cool.
Well, that is an interesting thought.
Yeah. And then the last one, which is one that no one ever thinks about or talks about, except maybe some chiropractors, is your nervous system. So you have to have proper nervous system function for all these things to be able to work and be their best, right?
So for all these things, like including your feeling and feeling about your feeling?
Totally. So the way, the thoughts that you think, they're totally a reflection of the tone and expression within our nervous system and in our being, right? So life lives in the nerves. It's in all of our cells and tissues, but you can think like if I were to take out a muscle, if I were to take out a bone, if I were to take out even a blood vessel, it's going to be alive at least for a little bit. But the last thing they check before declaring someone actually deceased is for electrical activity of the nervous system. And so if I were to take out the nerve the instant, like that tissue is dying. Poof.
Yeah.
Instant. And so life is living in your nerves. And the neuroskeleton was a term used by one of our, well, actually the founder, D.D. Palmer. And it's this idea that you can't really separate the physical framework from the nervous system. There's actually attachments at the top and the bottom.
Right. And
stretching, twisting, distorting that framework will alter the way they're able to carry signals through.
Mm-hmm.
And then abnormal signals lead to abnormal things, leads to diminished expression of that life through that body.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how do you screw up your nervous system?
Oh man. So the three main ways that we generally speak of, we call them the 3 T's, right? So there's your trauma, so that's physical trauma. And that can be like a car wreck, it could be a birth trauma, you know, taking the head, vacuum extraction.
Right.
It could be slow, steady posture at work, trauma, all that stuff, right?
Right.
Then there's your thoughts.
Yeah, I've heard this
That's
before.
team number 2.
Yeah.
And then the last one is toxins.
Right.
So chemical actual substances in our body. And so all these, it's cumulative, right? You can think like we kind of have this buffer of how we can adapt and do so successfully. But with the accumulations of these stressors, the more you have, it eventually is going to overload that system to where it can no longer adapt, and then it leads to a distortion of the nervous system.
I'm really curious. So you get a patient come in, how do you know that their nervous system is good or bad?
It's a great question. So I can't answer that with these. I can't. These can tell me like what the muscles are doing or if there's inflammation.
Right.
But it doesn't tell me the function of that person's nervous system, which is why I have scans, neurologic scans that I do in the office, right? So they're all looking at different windows of the nervous system, so it's a whole, right? But we can look into specific pieces and parts of it because one test is only going to show me just like one little part of it. And so I like to have more data so I can see what everything is doing. And it's really cool because not everybody comes in with a symptom necessarily.
See, this is why I love chiropractors, because you all look at the whole picture.
Right. And it's about like growing healthy you from the inside out, and it starts with the balanced nervous system. And so people can have a scan that just looks atrocious, but they feel fine. It's like, hey man, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and your body's in the process of breaking itself down. Like, it is diminished in its capacity to adapt to things that are happening to it, and over time, this is going to lead, kind of like wearing car tread on your tires if it's out of alignment, right? One of them is going to wear more than the other, and eventually a blowout, right? And that blowout could be, oh, my sciatica, oh, my migraines, oh, my irritable bowel, depending on what nerves are being affected in the conduit of the spinal cord.
Irritable bowel, so that's interesting. That's interesting, so I'm really curious. I don't know how much you know about autoimmune issues and all this stuff, but then I hear about people healing autoimmune not through diet. I'm like, how the hell would that happen?
Yeah, well, so neuroimmunity, that is kind of a new field that's really still emerging. Neuroimmunity. Exactly, so the interaction between the nervous system and your immune system. Like we actually just found lymphatics in the brain only a couple of years ago. We didn't know they existed until a couple of years ago. So we're just scratching the surface on this amazing thing.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so the idea is that the nervous system's controlling and coordinating all the millions and millions of processes that are going on, even while we're having this conversation, right?
Right.
Like, maybe you had a late lunch and you're still digesting your food, or you're making new red blood cells, your liver's turning over, you're making new bones. All these things are happening without us being aware of it.
Yeah.
And so the coordination of those, right? So the timing, how much, where does it need to go, and when, and back and forth is all being coordinated by the system, right?
Right.
So then, if someone's beginning to break down, for instance, like to the gut, like irritable bowel, right, autoimmune kind of thing, leaky gut, leaky brain. So then that can lead to an environment that's not supportive of healthy bacteria, but other bacteria begin to creep in and occupy those environments.
Speak up a little bit
to
make sure everybody can hear you. Or come closer to the camera.
Can you come closer? Hey.
Yeah.
It can create an environment for bacteria that's not supposed to be in there, and then that leads to all these other symptoms that we see, and then a state of dysautonomia. This is a fancy term of your autonomic system, which is your sympathetic or parasympathetic, is malfunctioning, right? And in a heightened sympathetic state, so that fight or flight, it actually inhibits what's called lymphocytes, which is one of our immune cells that are fighting off infections and things like that, which is why, it has tremendous impact in this area, which is why I say like an Atlas adjustment is one of the best flu shots that we have.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it can change the dynamics of that autonomic system, which can change a state of inflammation. It can change the way that the immune system is actually being able to be no longer inhibited, but it can actually go and do its job. all sorts of things. It's wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, this is all new
That
stuff.
was a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed with information. I'm thinking maybe we should write a blog post about it and just streamline it somehow, because I think it's going to be really interesting. And I know we have lots and lots and lots of people who come to this restaurant who have autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
Lots of leaky gut.
Yeah, you have a
lots
whole
of-
protocol, right?
Yeah, well,
That's on.
we have stuff on the menu that is compliant with the autoimmune protocol,
Okay.
which is like paleo plus extra stuff taken out because
Right.
their gut's not working right.
Uh-huh.
Lots of people with leaky gut who might want to hear this as an alternative, or not alternative, we don't like that word, but like another source,
Right. It's
aside from looking at their diet, also looking at this.
totally, because it'll work in synergy, right?
Right.
So the idea is you create the internal environment by having a properly functioning nervous system, and then you fuel it with the foods that are necessary at that time period until the things can actually heal themselves, right? So like if the body can heal a cut, for instance, on your finger, why can't it heal something like irritable bowel or leaky gut or migraines or cancer even? Holy God, he's threw out the C word. But it can.
Oh,
It does it all the
cancer,
time.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It does
So
it, right?
it would totally just mesh and be a great thing to have both of those working for you instead of just trying to attack one or the other, you know?
Yeah. This is really interesting because not that long ago I thought you go to chiropractic if you have twisted neck. That's it. You know?
Right, and
It's
that's
so interesting to talk about the nervous system.
Mhm.
You also were talking about vagus nervous system to me before.
the
What
vagus
is that?
nerve. So
Yeah.
the vagus nerve. So it's basically the bulk of your parasympathetic portion of the autonomic system.
So can you talk about sympathetic versus parasympathetic so that we understand
Yeah,
that the
so let's
basics
hit
of
that real quick. So your
Yeah.
autonomic system, it basically is word meaning automatic, right? We aren't consciously aware of that state and that system and what it's doing.
Right.
It's basically what's working the background programs. And so there's two different branches of it. One is the sympathetic, which is fight or flight. Think about it like
Okay.
if there's a bear in the room, what's going to happen? You know, my heart rate's going to increase, my pupils are going to dilate so I can focus closer. Blood's going to go to my muscles and out from my organs, so digestion's slowed down and shut off. I don't need to be digesting my food as I'm trying to run away from a bear, you know?
Right. Okay, so
that's sympathetic.
That's sympathetic. Okay.
Parasympathetic is basically the other side of that coin. People will say rest and digest. So
Okay.
that is the slow down, going away from the muscles and tissues, going into the organs, allowing metabolism to take place, digestion, all that kind of stuff. That's where we do all of our growth and repair mechanisms, right?
Okay.
Or outlined by that. And
So they should be on like 95% of the time. I'm assuming.
so we need them both, obviously, right?
Okay.
Too often, like I have a scan that's just looking on the balance of this, and most of the time people are shifted way off to the sympathetic side, even at a state of like rest. So that means just sitting, not much
Oh, you
going
can
on.
tell by scans or data.
Yeah,
So
I
this
have
is like
one.
this is like the chronic stress thing, right?
Right.
This is like how, because
Yes.
we talk about it in the paleo world all the time, how stressed out we are all the time.
Yeah.
We have, so parasympathetic is the
Usually it's
fight
being
fight.
inhibited. No, so
Okay,
it's sympathetic.
totally.
Sympathetic.
The sympathetic is the bear. Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, and so they're always shifted over there, and whenever people get adjusted and get their nervous system tuned up, clear and connected, as I like to say, it finds its way over back into balance, and so people can stop breaking down and start building back up.
Interesting.
And so the vagus nerve is the bulk of that parasympathetic system, and it actually means the wandering nerve because it's going everywhere. So it's coming out of the base of your head. We all have a hole in our head. It's called the foramen magnum, which is just Latin for big hole,
Yeah.
which I just love that. It's
Big
hilarious.
hole in your head.
Yeah, it's in Latin, so it sounds cool.
Right.
You know. But yeah, so that's where the spinal cord's coming out,
Yeah.
and that's also, so the vagus nerve is exiting through your skull, and then it has projections all over the place, right? It's pretty much supplying all of our internal organs, and most of it is giving information up to the brain from the internal organs. So it's telling it like what's going on, what is the state of all of these, so the brain can make the proper integration and response according to those. So if that vagus nerve is being affected, then you can understand that the brain's not getting proper messaging, so it's probably not going to have as accurate a signal, leading to what we call dis-ease, basically a little chaotic. You know, things
Right.
aren't talking to each other. They're
Right.
isolated. We're no longer whole, which is the concept of healing versus curing. Healing from halos meaning whole, to make whole again, versus curing, which is more of like, I have these XYZ symptoms and I'm cured when those are no longer there. That's kind of a side branch there.
I do have a weird question for you, and wonder
Okay.
if there's
Probably have a weird answer.
yeah. So does the nervous system, the non-bear, which one is that?
Parasympathetic.
The parasympathetic, the common one,
Mm-hmm.
or both of them, any of that, does that have any impact on our hormones? Are those two in any
Hormones.
way connected?
So yeah, so the state of the autonomic system, right? It's going to impact the way that the messages coming in through our senses are interpreted, which is therefore going to change the hormones, so those chemical messengers that are being produced and moved around throughout the body, right? So like, for example, the sympathetic side, messages coming in, they go into the limbic system, and they don't really reach into the cortex as much, so that's why your rational thinking is kind of skewed down a little bit, and you're just like survival mode.
Gotcha. The
And so,
reason,
and then it creates the chemistry to reflect that, which is seen in the hormones, and then also different parameters like blood pressure, things like that.
so the reason why I'm asking you, because I have been trying to figure out PMS for the longest time, right?
Mm.
And we have had a lot of discussions about the pregnant hormones deal. And if somebody is stressed out all the time, they're overproducing cortisol,
Yeah,
underproducing progesterone.
right.
And then they have estrogen progesterone balance.
Mhm.
And as women, you know, we're not designed to live in the environment we live in these days, right? We're not designed to drive cars and run around all day long. That's very
Right.
stressful.
Totally.
And so then, you know, PMS is not an ancient thing. It didn't exist. So I've been trying to like ask different people about their
Yeah.
take on it and how that's related, and
Okay.
trying to find new ways to deal with it.
Yeah. So that is a really cool question. I guess so. Yeah. So there's all the accompanying symptoms along with that, right? And you know, just take it back to like why is that happening? You know, what might be being affected, and trace it back. I'm always going to trace it back to the nervous system and see like, is there something that might be affected there? And I've actually
Right.
had people. I'm not sure if there's actually PMS or not. I think so. It's been a couple of years now. It was actually back when I was still in school, but I had just like terrible like cramps. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that
And
too.
she also had like scoliosis, endometriosis, which is abnormal tissue growth in that area as well.
Right.
A couple other things too, but I tried other various healing forms and even a different chiropractor. And then I introduced her to upper cervical chiropractic, which is what I do. And lo and behold, like her back pain went away, and then her cramps were getting less and less each time. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see her longer than just a few months, but we were already making progress back towards kind of easier transitions in that time frame.
That's
cool.
so interesting.
And then there's stories also with like fertility, slightly off subject, but similar vein. You know, like infertile women trying to get pregnant and then get under care, and then a few months down the road they're able to conceive, which is just so awesome. I think that's just the coolest thing ever. Like, you're making new life now. What's cooler than that? you know?
There's nothing cooler than that. So you're basically, in your line of work, you're restoring people's nervous system.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you could say that.
Or the flow, or the communication.
Totally.
Or
So yeah, you can
the
think of
messaging.
it like, depends how deep into like, you know, the spiritualness you want to get today.
sure,
But
let's go
for
there.
me, you know, you know that everything is like energy, right? It's vibration. There's the universe, the one song, you know what I'm saying? And we're all singing a verse of it.
Yeah.
And whenever your physical form is stretched, distorted, out of alignment, you're no longer able to properly resonate in harmony with the natural vibrations of the universe, right? The Om. But when we bring our physical structure back into proper alignment and allowing the nervous system to carry those impulses at the proper tone, which is what chiropractic is founded upon, which is why it's part of this ancient healing tradition. It's this concept of tone of the nervous system and body in tune with what? With the universe, with the creative life force, whatever you want to call it, that's in all matter and existence in the entire universe. Right? So that's kind of like the philosophy 201, not 101. But
wow, I love
yeah,
it.
we'll dive deep today.
No, this is good.
And yeah, I absolutely
good.
love it.
You can't vibrate at a high frequency if you're messed up.
Yeah, like some people talk about like crystals or something. They have like the resonance and energy. It's based upon the structure of its physical form. We're the same way, you know. We are made of the same stuff. We have different properties and actions, and the way that physical alignment is held is going to change the vibrational state and its ability to express whatever intelligence, information is being held within that structure form. That's a little.
I love that we're having this conversation. I think this is interesting, and I think our people, on our Facebook page, I think they can handle it. We're all in Boulder, so I think we can talk spiritual stuff.
Totally.
But that's really cool. But I wanted to talk to you. We were talking before. You really like dealing with, and we kind of touched on it a little bit. We touched on relationships. And we touched on families. And you mentioned to me before you specifically enjoy working with kids, and you enjoy working with kids with autism and SPD and ADHD. I really want to find out about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, kids are just awesome. They'll tell it like it is. There's no tweaking around. They're so smart and they're just funny. And it's a joy for me personally to work with kids. And especially because it's so important because they are the future, you know what I mean? So, like, I always tell people it's kind of like if I was a mechanic, you can bring me a brand new, nice, shiny car, and it's going to be a lot easier for me to maintain that nice, brand new, shiny car than it is if you bring me a rust bucket that you have to tow in and I have to fix that up, right? Our physical body is like the car, right? And it has limitations. So if it's given the time frame to break down to such an extent, there's only so much that it can still do.
Right.
And with that life, their life's entirely ahead of them still, and it's just, that's how cultures change, that's how we change the world, and how we create a new paradigm of health, healing, life, community, environmentalism, all that good stuff. It's there. But families in particular too, because like you said, relationships, it's huge. It's one of the pillars, one of the roots of health and wellness.
Yeah.
And if the family unit isn't functioning coherently, then that ripples out, right? And it starts with the individual, right? We have this thing called the big idea. And it's basically like the ripple effect, if you've ever heard of that. But essentially, it's like the change, you be the change you wish to see in the world kind of concept, right? So you have to embody that, and you're only able to embody that at 100% whenever your structure, your energy, and your mind and body are focused and clear and connected, and you're able to fully express that.
Right.
And so that is going to, have you ever walked into a room, for instance, that some people have just been arguing in? You just walk in and you're like, whoa. No one has to say anything, you just feel that, right?
You would be, there's something I've been wondering about this, because I personally am not terribly intuitive, I'm mostly in my head, but I see it here in the dining room, in the restaurant. Everything is going well, and we have a practice. If people come in grumpy, you don't sit them next to people who are happy, because it just somehow spreads.
Right.
It just spreads.
Either positive or negative, right? So you can think of it, we're all individual droplets in the ocean of humanity and life, right?
Yeah.
And going back to this concept of energy, there's a field in between us that we are both affecting.
Yeah.
Right? And have you ever just felt like natural connection with somebody, you don't even really know them yet, you're just like, whoa, I need to go talk to this person or something.
Totally.
We say it in our verbiage, like, oh man, I really resonate with that, or like we totally vibe and hit it off.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me, I go to this networking group on Wednesdays, a different networking group, right? And we are given one slip of one person we want to connect with, right? And there's 30 people in the room. Whoever I write the slip to, they always write it back to me. It's like always, and
Yeah.
the first time it happened, like, wow,
Synchronicity.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
But the meetup leader is just like, yeah, that happens all the time.
Totally.
That's like,
Yeah.
anyway, we got
But, yeah.
sidetracked a little bit.
So,
but yeah.
starting with one person, it's going to affect my relationship with the person next to me, right?
Right.
And that is going to potentially affect their day and how they interact with the next person they see, and so on and so forth.
Right.
So if I am connected, clear, authentic, expressing myself 100%, true to me, inside and out, mind, body, then that is going to have a positive effect on the field and in that person.
Right.
The concept is called entrainment. So if you actually take metronome, so it's basically the dominant pattern and vibration within the space is what everything tunes to. It's why women who are in the same household tend to get their cycles at the same time after they live together.
Right.
It's the concept of entrainment. And so the same thing applies to our vibrational state and how we're being. Human being, not the human doing. Right? So I always tell people this care is bringing you back to being a human being again.
Not a human doing.
And so that goes out to the family, that goes out to the community, that goes out to the city, to the state, to the nation, to the world, right? That's the big idea, is getting people tuned in to themselves, to each other, to this earth, to the force of life and goodness and love that's out there, and that's how we change the world.
I love that.
So,
I love that. How do you do that? How do you get people to do that?
So it all starts with one person making a choice, you know? And this is, I don't think chiropractic necessarily is the only way up this mountain. I think there's several paths. It's the one that changed the trajectory and the course of my life, so I'm crazy passionate about it, and it has awesome
I'd like
things
to
about it.
find out a little bit about your story, about how you got into this.
Yeah.
'Cause you're really interesting. You're really fascinating.
I appreciate that. So in undergrad, I was actually pre-med and was going to plan to go into med school, potentially surgery or anesthesiology. And, you know, I just lied to myself for like 4 years. I knew my heart wasn't in it. I knew that I was made for something else, but I didn't know what that was at the time. So I just stuck with it, took the MCAT and everything, and got my scores back, and I was like, shoot, now I need to make a decision, you know, what am I gonna do? I was like, I don't think I can do this. Crap, what do I do? And the concept of chiropractic was a little voice, even since high school, that was just like, chiropractic. And I only went once for like a shoulder injury, and it helped, which was great, but I didn't have like that miracle story or anything that people share that are out there. At least not yet. I'll get into that one. But kind of a series of divine interventions, right? So it got me started on the path. I applied to chiropractic school, got in, and started all within about a month and a half-ish time frame. It was like so stressful, but yeah, I was like, I don't want to take a gap. I want to just keep going. Let's do this. And so I was in school for about 3 months or so. I was in my second trimester. We did trimesters, so 3 a year, pretty much going all year round. And I was going into the student clinic, and I was getting adjusted the same way every week. I didn't have any symptoms or anything. It was like a wellness base. I was always getting adjusted here, I was getting adjusted here, I was getting adjusted here.
Right.
I was like, what's up? This is the same exact pattern. And then eventually there was this little irritation thing, not pain, just like an annoyance happening right here. And I would get adjusted to feel better for a little, and then it would come back. And at first it'd be good for a couple days. Then it got to the point where I got adjusted in the clinic, was walking out to my car, and could feel it coming back. And I was just like, ugh, no,
Yeah.
like there's gotta be something more.
Yeah.
And so, luck have it, there's no luck. There's only things we don't know about. But
Right.
anyway, divine intervention, I always say. It got me into this doc's office, not affiliated with the school, but in the town. And
Is he a chiropractor?
yeah, chiropractor. He's
Yeah.
actually the guy who got me into this work.
Okay.
Mentor, love him dearly. His name's Dr. Eddie Wellers in St. Louis. What's up? But I remember he hosted a student night, and there were about 6 of us in there, and I thought I was going to something totally different, right? And he walks in, and he just looks around. I never will forget this. He's like, yeah, like everybody's in this room right now is meant to be in here.
Yeah.
Let's get started.
Right.
And just blew my mind talking about the principles of chiropractic healing and health from within, things we weren't really hearing in school. And then, so fast forward a little bit, keep brevity of the story. He adjusted my atlas, which is the top vertebra in our neck, cervical vertebrae number 1. It holds up our globe, our head, hence the name. And totally just changed my life. I was grilling out later that afternoon with one of my best friends, and I felt different. I felt clear, like in my mind, my vision, my senses were all like it was almost, I tell people, it's like I was living in like this haze and didn't even know. Or like I was in this glass wall and the world was out there and everything was muffled.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell until I stepped out of the box and I was like, oh my God. And I told my friend, I was like, this is how I'm supposed to feel. It's like, oh my God.
Wow.
And that just totally shifted my trajectory in school and then in life as well. And
So
it's
that's
almost
what you do?
built me into a different person, you know,
Mm.
like become much more connected with people and being able to socialize more. Like I kind of get anxious, I kind of like just feel disconnected, kind of numb.
Yeah.
And then that just, you know, totally just started fading beyond me. I transcended into a better version of myself through this care.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So was he your teacher? Did he teach you what you do so you can put other people out of their box?
Totally. So yeah, he is my mentor. I studied him outside of school for over 2.5 years together. He
That's
taught me the
awesome.
technique that I do. I actually got his table, which is in my office. It used to be his. He sold it to me. So yeah, I have that.
Really
and,
cool.
yeah,
That is
I owe him a
amazing.
lot.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
But I think your story is particularly amazing.
Cool.
I think I hear a lot of stories like that when people who, like celiacs, when they finally take out gluten and they're like, wow, like all this fog and all this stuff, and like all of a sudden there's this clarity.
Yeah.
But it's really intriguing to know there's another level of clarity that we may not know about.
Yeah, I mean, we're not stagnant in our evolution. I think this is a nice step in the right direction, keeping us clear and connected as we move forward through our lives, but also generationally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We're about out of time. Is there anything
Okay.
you want to add? Where's your, how do people find you, first of all? How do they find you? Where's your office?
So my office is, like I mentioned earlier, South Boulder. So it's actually on Table Mesa.
Yeah. When you post it, can you comment underneath and post your address
absolutely.
or link to your where people schedule appointments with you? Because I can imagine
Yeah.
a few of them would be inspired to get themselves out of their fog.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
have a little
Yeah, I can
session
post
with
that all in the link descriptions down there, the website. Have a Facebook page as well, Instagram, all that fun stuff. Email, call, text the office. That all works too. I'll put all that in there. And yeah, for all the viewers, for the entire month of August, that's actually my birthday month in August, so this is kind of a cool little timing. Yeah, so we can kind of package it all in one. So if you send me an email, send me a consultation form or whatever, mention this Facebook Live of Blooming Beats, then I will...
You should do a password for that. It should be Paleo.
All right. It's the password Paleo.
Paleo.
Oh, that's good. I like that. It just clicked.
Paleo.
Then my day 1 and day 2 initial evaluation rate usually is $175, but with that I will gift it for $47.
What? I'm coming.
For the month of August. Yeah, you can come.
All right, I'm coming.
Totally. So yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me. Facebook, Instagram,
We're gonna
website,
do
email.
Where are you adjusting me, maybe? Maybe.
Oh, that would be awesome. I'd love to do that. That'd be really cool.
Oh, we totally should. I'm gonna bring this.
Yeah, that'd be
So
great.
everybody knows my problem.
So yeah, there's that.
Maybe not.
And feel free to shoot me any questions. You call, text the office, send emails, messages, whatever. It's coming to me. So I'll be happy to answer anything that comes up.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah,
Thank you guys
Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
that was so fun. I was so glad to learn your passions, what you do. So cool, so exciting. Anyway, so for you guys, we have a Facebook Live next Monday. I have no idea what it's about. It's on my calendar, but it's going to be exciting because I have 3 speakers. I just don't remember who is when. but we have some interesting things to talk about. I think we might have Mary Kay back on the 13th. She's my favorite. She's she talks about keto, paleo, which is my favorite topic here. So we talk about it all the time. So she's the expert on it. So we're gonna have her back, and then we have some other people after that are super exciting. So I will talk to you next Monday at 6 p.m. and you're gonna post your office underneath.
Yep, underneath. Keep your head on straight, y'all.
All right.